How we doing, y'all? Just want to say it's always a blessing to be able to talk to you guys, and extremely thrilled for game week. I know Coach Johnson and Dennis Allen are going to have a great game plan for us. They're tremendous coaches, DAs, one of the best defensive minds in this league, and it's going to be, a tough road environment versus a great divisional opponent, and I can't wait to go out there with the guys and be out there. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Open it up to any questions.
Do you anticipate they'll do? You got to be careful not to think too much. In other words, you start anticipating they'll do this because they'll try to show me something they've never seen before. Do you try not to get too caught up in that and seeing ghosts and just see what they've done?
It's a great question, Max. I feel like, everything about the way Coach O'Connell talks about playing the quarterback position is success in the simple. Just following your reads, doing your job in that each individual play, and the rest will take care of itself. You could get overthinking, is it a too high shell? Are they going down to one high? But at the end of the day, if you stick to the reads and, do your job, then it'll be a good outcome for that play.
What is your earliest memory of being at Soldier Field?
Earliest memory was probably, I don't know how old I was, but it was my first game, and I was coming out of the stadium, and I feel like, what are those called? Programs? Yeah. Someone was selling the programs, and my dad was like, "Yeah, we got to get one. It's your first game." And that's the first time I was there, and I think it was against the Vikings, and the Vikings won. So, it was just really cool to be from there. But at the end of the day, it's all about executing football plays and going out there and doing my job.
Where do you feel like you try to get your mind at just the moments before you take the field, especially in a game like this?
I just try to be completely present. At the end of the day, there's going to be, anxiousness, excitement, and, a whole lot of adrenaline. But at the end of the day, that's completely normal. And, accepting those emotions, you're able to let go of them a lot quicker than trying to deflect them and avoid them. So, I know I'm going to be amped up, but at the end of the day, I know that, Coach O'Connell is going to put me in a great position, and my teammates around me are going to, do everything they can to make sure we're successful each and every play. But, yeah, it's just stay present, stay calm, and centered.
JJ, one more thing about going home. What was that support like in LaGrange Park growing up, and what do you think it'll be like on Monday night?
The support was amazing. Just being from LaGrange Park, it's really special because, there's not too many guys that, go to the league out of there, and, and really a lot of sports. But just being there and growing up there, I'm really thankful. Thankful for all the family friends down the block, thankful for all the schoolmates and, teachers and everyone who helped shape me to who I am. So a lot of gratitude and grace, but we're ready to go.
What was your reaction when you heard about Adam coming back?
Absolutely thrilled. Just everything that guy's about. He's a leader. He's a technician. He works his absolute butt off. And, at the end of the day, he's probably one of the greatest guys I've ever been around. So just adding that addition to our team is, extremely invaluable, and it does a lot for our room and our offense.
What did it mean to you to be voted a captain?
It meant the world. It's a tremendous honor. Just being on this team, and, KO said it the other day, there's been 27 guys that were voted captain, and that's a record for, where Coach O'Connell's been. And, just because I have a C on my chest, that doesn't change anything. Just because, guys like CJ Ham don't have a C on their chest, that doesn't change anything. We have so many leaders that, it's an abundant of captains, but you can only choose 8, and it means the absolute world, because at Michigan I wasn't allowed to be one. High school, COVID happened, I was one at IMG, but I wasn't one with my boys, and yeah, it means a lot.
JJ, what are you most proud of kind of over the last calendar year since you got injured?
I would say I'm most proud of just the growth in this offense, and really, hearing a play, seeing it in my mind, and going out there and executing it. And, say we're in a sticky situation, just making it right, not making a bad play worse. But at the end of the day, that comes with chemistry with the guys, chemistry with Coach O'Connell and I. And I feel like, just where we've been growing, we're not even close to hitting our peak, but we're in a really good spot right now.
JJ, in camp, you and Aaron Jones connected a few different times. Just what does it mean to have a running back with the type of hands and ability to catch the football as Aaron does?
He's a special running back. He could really be out there in slot and run routes and catch balls and, make people miss. But he's so intelligent. It takes a lot for a running back to be out there and learn, new formations, new route concepts, and he's handled it so well, and it just speaks dividends to who he is as a person and how he is as a pro.
With all the preparation that you've put in, coming off the injury, going through camp, and now getting this first opportunity to start, how prepared do you feel? How much confidence do you have that you'll be able to go out there and have some success on Monday night?
Extremely prepared, most prepared I've felt in my life. Obviously, we still got to get, third down, red zone, all that stuff in, but I feel like, just talking with, Coach Wentz, Carson, just like he's breaking down, like, when he was going through his first start and when he was playing at Soldier at night, and just like, first games, you never really know what you're going to get. So you could prepare as much as you want, but they could do a completely different thing. So the most important thing is, like I said earlier, just staying, locked into the simple things, locked into what my job is that play, and then reacting to what the defense is giving me. But very prepared and very confident.
Is it all like Michigan in your first start? Do you remember that? And does it feel the same?
It really doesn't, to be honest with you, Max. I feel like, that was pretty intense. This is very intense as well. But just playing so many big games at Michigan, obviously it's a different level here. But just having those reps of those emotions that you feel and how you handle them and how you manage them. But this one, there's just pure excitement, pure confidence. And, I absolutely can't wait to get on the plane with my boys and get out there. But at the end of the day, we got a lot of work to do before then. So.
Okay. Is there anything from last year, watching last year's QB room prepare for games, that you've taken into your own game prep this year?
For sure. Just the way, Sam was able to balance the workload and the recovery mode. I feel like that's something I struggled with. It's always been work, work, work. But, Sam did a really good job of just aligning different things, like his, recovery routine in terms of his shoulder health, his hip health, just not being in the building 24/7. Little things like that I feel like pay dividends down the road because it is such a long season. And, there were a lot of things that I picked up on my own. Just, how am I going to compartmentalize all this information and chunk it into ways that I could go out there and, play free with a clear mind and, play fast.
I'm sure that lots of people have offered different advice to you. Is there any advice that you have taken this week to heart, maybe, or that you've appreciated?
I would say the best advice I received was just go be you. At the end of the day, it's just, the confidence and belief in myself. At the end of the day, that's going to be what is most pivotal and profound for the outcome of my performance. And it's just the belief in myself and belief in my abilities, and the rest will take care of itself.
Last couple for JJ.
JJ, how much will you let yourself enjoy the moment of it being 30 minutes from home, or will you have to kind of just X that out of your mind on Monday?
I feel like home is in Minnesota. So at the end of the day, it's just a business trip. We're going to go down there, execute some football plays, and see what happens.
What are you looking to accomplish with Justin now that he's back fully practicing again?
Just more reps, different routes, just feeling different body languages from a safety or a nickel. And, just the more times I could throw the guy the ball, the better. And, I feel like Coach O'Connell's just had a great plan for, just catching up with that. But, he's the greatest receiver in the world. So just being out there and, putting up a ball in his vicinity makes it easy to have some good chemistry.
Thanks, everybody.
Appreciate you guys. Have a good one.